You didn't know then, but you still carry it in the silence between your thoughts, in the weight behind your smile, in the way you replay what can't be changed. What if the thing you're punishing yourself for was never yours to carry in the first place? What if you were just trying to survive? What if you weren't wrong, just unprepared? And tonight, in this quiet, we will walk into those forgotten rooms. We will hold the version of you that didn't know, and we will learn to forgive that silence together. It always begins with a memory, not the loud ones, not the ones that scream your name, but the soft ones, the ones that whisper in your bones. You remember a hallway dimly lit. You were younger, then smaller, quieter. You stood at the edge of someone else's anger, and you thought it was yours. You took blame like it was a gift, because back then being wrong felt safer than being invisible. You were always too kind, too willing to carry things that weren't yours. You mistook silence for stability. You mistook pain for purpose, and no one told you otherwise because they didn't know either. Or maybe they did and said nothing. Sometimes not knowing isn't the wound. It's the silence that follows it. The room smelled like rain that night. You were staring out the window, counting the drops as if the storm could explain what you were feeling. Your hands were clenched. Your chest was heavy, and the words you wanted to say never found a way out. That moment, that version of you, still waits to be seen. They told you to be strong, so you became silent. They told you to move on, so you forgot how to stay. And now, years later, you don't remember the sound of your own comfort. You only remember being afraid and pretending not to be. You didn't know how to say, "I'm tired," or "I'm scared," or "I don't think this is love." You learned to swallow storms, to smile through earthquakes, to bend without breaking, but you did break quietly, in pieces too small to mourn every time someone raised their voice. You flinched, not because of them, but because of then, because your nervous system remembered what your mind tried to forget. That's what trauma does. It whispers in familiar tones. It makes you question peace. It makes you crave what once hurt you, because at least that was predictable. But you didn't know that. Then you were just trying to make it through, trying to keep everyone happy, trying to be enough so they would stay, so they wouldn't change, so you wouldn't be left again. You blamed yourself when they left anyway. You told yourself it was your fault, that you weren't interesting enough, worthy enough, calm enough, smart enough, soft enough, silent enough. But you were never meant to be a performance. You were meant to be loved. You didn't know that, because no one showed you how. You didn't know what boundaries were. Only barriers. Only walls that kept people out and pain in. So you built a home in your own loneliness, decorated it with apologies, lit candles too, keep the memories warm, and called it healing. But this isn't healing. This is surviving. And you deserve more than that. You deserve freedom from the guilt that isn't yours. You deserve to speak without shaking, to cry without shame, to exist without explanation, to be whole again. Or for the first time ever, you didn't know what you needed. You didn't know how to ask, and that's not your fault. The child who lived inside you was not equipped to repair what others broke. She only knew how to cope, how to hide, how to endure, and that endurance is why you're still here, Ivan. If you walk with a limp, even if your smile sometimes trembles, even if you still wake up with questions, you made it, and that is something worth honoring. So, let's go back gently, one moment at a time. Let's sit with the silence you tried to ignore. Let's listen to the ache you were taught to mute. Let's forgive the parts of you that didn't know. Not because they were wrong, but because they were brave. They were trying. That version of you, the one who kept showing up, even when no one noticed, even when nothing made sense, even when it hurt to breathe. She deserves kindness, not criticism. She deserves rest, not regrets. So breathe. You're safe now. No one is coming to hurt you, not anymore. And if the pain knocks, you don't have to answer. You don't have to let it live inside you anymore. You can tell it, "Thank you, but I'm choosing peace tonight," because healing isn't about forgetting. It's about returning to the place you lost yourself and choosing to be different. Not because you have to, but because you finally can, and that is the start of everything. There were nights when you stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of a world that never heard you, and you wondered if maybe you were the problem. Not because you were, but because no one ever told you otherwise. You internalized silence like it was a message, and it became a language you spoke fluently. You apologized even when you didn't understand why. You shrank in rooms that needed your voice. You agreed just to avoid being left because to be wrong felt less painful than to be alone. But none of that was your fault. You were reacting to a world that demanded your softness and then punished you for it too. Didn't know boundaries, so you gave too much. You gave your time, your energy, your tears, your sleep, and then wondered why. You were exhausted all the time. You didn't know how to say no because you feared it would make you unloved. But love that needs you to say yes all the time is not love, it's control. And you were never meant to be controlled. You were meant to be held on that day, the one that still visits you in dreams, the one where everything changed. You replay it because you think if you watch it enough, you'll finally understand what you did wrong. But sometimes things fall apart not because of you, but because people carry storms they never warned you about, and you stood in the path thinking you could calm the thunder, but no one told you. That isn't your job. You were not put on this earth to fix broken people. You were not sent here to bleed for the comfort of others. You were meant to grow, to feel, to become, and yes, to fall too, but not in silence, not in shame. So, if tonight the memories knock, if they ask to be played like old records, you can let them play, but you don't have to dance with them anymore. You can watch them and whisper, I see you, but I am no longer you, that version of you, the one who stayed too long, who gave too much, who swallowed her voice. She was doing the best she could. She didn't know, but now you don't. Knowing changes everything. Knowing doesn't erase the past, but it changes how you carry it. You don't have to let it define your worth. You don't have to shrink every time someone raises their voice. You don't have to explain why you flinch when someone moves too fast. You are allowed to need space. You are allowed to ask for quiet. You are allowed to outgrow the things that once felt siphoned. That includes people. Sometimes the hardest part is realizing that the ones who were supposed to love you didn't know how, and that their lack was not a reflection of your worth, but of their own wounds. And you were just nearby. You didn't cause their chaos. You just stood close enough to feel the debris, and now you think you're broken, but you're not. You're rebuilding. You're relearning how to exist without apology. That takes time, that takes softness, that takes nights like this, where the tears fall quietly, and no one needs to understand why, because you do, and that's enough. That's always been enough. May still wake with weight in your chest. You may still forget how to breathe sometimes, but healing is not a straight line. It's a spiral. It revisits you till you meet it with love instead of fear. So when your younger self shows up in the mirror looking for answers, don't send her away. Hold her. Tell her you didn't know, and that's okay. Tell her you are safe now. Tell her you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become tonight. You choose forgiveness, not for them, but for you, because you deserve it. Because you've carried this long enough. Because your story does not end in silence. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not unworthy. You were just surviving, and now you are ready to live. Let go, breathe, rest. You've earned this. There are days when you look fine, when the mirror shows you a face that seems whole, but deep underneath, there's a part of you still hiding, still waiting for someone to find you, the version of you that sat in dark rooms, that whispered questions into empty spaces, that never got answers. You thought healing meant forgetting. So you tried, you buried the letters, you threw out the photographs. You cleaned the spaces where their presence used to linger, but healing doesn't mean forgetting it. Means remembering without falling apart. It means speaking their name without choking. It means standing where you once collapsed and breathing. There was a time when silence felt safe. Now it feels heavy. You sit alone, and the quiet echoes everything you pushed away. You try to drown it out with distractions, with noise, with motion, but still it comes softly, delicately, like it knows your bones better than you do. You didn't know that grief could live in small things, in old sweaters, in parking. Lots in songs you haven't heard in years, but it does. It lingers not because you're weak, but because you felt deeply. And that is something to be proud of. They told you to move on, but they never taught you how. They never said that moving on didn't mean erasing. They never told you that sometimes moving on looks like carrying it differently. Not lighter, not smaller, just with more grace. You carry your past like a fragile thing wrapped in layers of what you unfolded sometimes late at night. When no one's around you, trace the lines of what happened. You whisper apologies to memories that can't hear you, and still you hope that somehow forgiveness will echo back through time. But you weren't wrong. You were just hurting. You weren't selfish. You were protecting yourself the only way you knew how. You weren't weak. You were human, and you didn't know, but now you do, and that knowing is a gift even when it aches. Even when it aches. You remember the time they left without saying goodbye. The door closed, but no explanation followed, just silence, just distance, and a million questions you were too afraid to ask. You blamed yourself for their absence. You assumed it meant something was wrong with you. But sometimes people leave not because of you, but because they can't face themselves. You were collateral in their war with their own reflection. You were the soft place they couldn't sit still in because they didn't feel deserving of calm. They didn't know how to be loved without pain, and so they pushed you away, and you, in your beautiful naivety, tried to hold them tighter. Tried to fix what was never yours to fix. You didn't know love shouldn't hurt. You didn't know that being chosen doesn't require suffering. You thought you had to earn affection by enduring, by waiting, by staying, but you never had to bleed to be worthy. You are not hard to love. You were just trying to be loved by someone who didn't love themselves, and that is never your fault. You didn't fail them. They were already falling, and you just happened to be near. That doesn't make you broken. That makes you brave. That makes you compassionate. That makes you beautifully humans. So tonight, you give yourself back what you gave away, your peace, your softness, your voice. You reclaim your joy not because it's easy, but because it's yours. And you've lived without it long enough. You will not shrink for someone else's comfort anymore. You will not apologize for healing out loud. You will not carry guilt for not knowing what no one taught you. You are allowed to start again. You are allowed to be new. You are allowed to bloom in places that once held grief. Yes, there will still be days that hurt, but hurting doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're feeling. It means you're alive. It means you're not numb anymore, and that is the real beginning. Forgive yourself not just for what you did, but for what you accepted, for what you tolerated, for the times you stayed silent when your heart was screaming, for the moments you let yourself be small so others could feel big. You forgive yourself because you finally see it wasn't your job to make them comfortable. It was your job to protect your light down now. Do you light candles for yourself? Now you speak softly to your own reflection. You sit beside your younger self and say, I didn't know, but I'm learning, and I'm not leaving you again. You are not alone in this anymore, and that changes everything. You always thought healing would feel like a sunrise, bright, sudden, clean, but healing is slow. It creeps in like fog, gentle gray, uncertain. It wraps around you quietly, and you only realize it happened when you notice you no longer flinch at the memory. There was a version of you that waited for answers, waited for someone to come back to explain why they left, to tell you it wasn't your fault, but no one ever came, so you filled in the blanks with blame and built your identity out of it. You carried it like a story you couldn't stop reading, even when it kept you awake, even when it made your chest ache. Didn't know you could put the book down. You didn't know you could write a new ending. No one told you the past can be visited without living in it, so you stayed. You wandered its halls like a ghost, looking for closure in empty rooms, and you called it loyalty. But loyalty to pain is not healing. Loyalty to your own suffering is not strength. You don't owe your past a lifetime you owe your future, a chance you can't go back and fix what you didn't know. But you can stop punishing yourself for not knowing. You can stop measuring your worth by what broke you. You are not the people who failed you. You are not the apologies you never got. You are the breath you take now. It's the softness you allow yourself to feel, the gentleness you offer your wounds. You cried in silence for so long, held yourself together with hope and habit. You smiled through grief. You laughed while carrying loss, and the world applauded your strength, never noticing how much it cost. But I see you now, the quiet ache behind your eyes, the weight in your shoulders, the tenderness you try to hide. And I'm here to tell you, it's okay to fall apart. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to rest. You've done enough. You've carried enough. You don't need to keep proving yourself. You don't need to keep being strong for people who never saw you. You don't need to pretend the past didn't shape you. It did, but it doesn't define you. Your softness is not a weakness. It's your rebellion. In a world that told you to harden, you stayed kind, you stayed feeling, you stayed real. And that is the bravest thing you could have. Dundu, you remember the first time you felt shame? Really felt it, the kind that wraps around your ribs like a cold chain. You were so small, and someone made you believe that your feelings were too loud, your needs too heavy, your presence too much. And so you dimmed your light just to make them comfortable, but no more. You don't have to keep dimming. You don't have to fold yourself to fit. You are allowed to be loud in your joy and messy in your grief. You are allowed to cry without explaining, laugh without restraint, and heal without asking permission. You don't owe anyone perfection. You only owe yourself honesty, and right now, that means admitting you were just doing your best. You weren't equipped for what they handed you. You weren't ready for the weight they placed on your shoulders, and yet you carried it. Without complaint, without guidance, without rest, you did what no one saw. You survived when it would have been easier to disappear. You showed up to life again and again, even when it didn't show up for you. That's worth something. That's worth everything. You are not your regrets. You are not your mistakes. You are the courage it takes to learn from them, to grow from them, to forgive yourself for not knowing, and to promise yourself that you'll never abandon yourself again. Tonight, you sit with your story, not to edit it, not to erase it, but to honor it, to say, I made it despite everything, despite them, despite me. And now you give yourself back the things you were once denied: safety, affection, patience. You speak to your pain like a friend, not an enemy. You let it teach you without letting it lead you. This is not weakness. This is reclamation. You are reclaiming your peace, your voice, your body, your breath. This moment is yours. It doesn't belong to the past or the people who made you feel small. It belongs to you, and in this moment, you are free. There's something strange about stillness. It feels like nothing, but inside it, everything begins. Stillness is where memories return, where voices you buried resurface, where emotions you silenced start whispering again. Tonight is quiet, but not empty. You sit with the weight of 100 yesterdays, and they all want to be seen. Some are gentle, some arrive angry. Some still ask questions you don't have answers for. And that's okay, because this time, if you're not running, you're listening. There was a time when listening to your heart felt dangerous. It told you things that scared you, that you were hurting, that you were lonely, that this wasn't love, but you didn't know how to trust those feelings, so you turned them off. You called it strength, you called it maturity, you called it coping, but it was survival. You didn't know how to speak what lived inside you, so you became fluent in pretending. You laughed at the right times, agreed when you wanted to scream, stayed quiet when you were drowning, and the world called you strong, but no one noticed your silence was stitched with fear. You built a life around avoiding pain, but pain still found you in the quiet of early mornings, in the hesitation behind your yes, in the tears that showed up without warning. You couldn't outrun it because it wasn't outside you. It was living in the places you never visited, the places you told yourself were too heavy, too much, too broken, but nothing about you is too much. You are layered. Vast, tender, and brave enough now to open the door to let the light fall on everything you've been hiding there was a memory you kept locked away. You know the one, the moment you felt completely alone, the moment no one saw you, no one heard you, and your heart split quietly. No blood, no sound, just a slow breaking. You didn't cry that day because even your tears knew there was no room for them. You held everything in you, made space for others even when none was made for you. You were too young to understand boundaries, so you made yourself small, unseen, safe. But you're not there anymore. That moment is over, the danger is gone. And now you can let yourself feel what you couldn't back then. You can cry for the girl who had to grow up too fast. You can hold the fear she never spoke aloud. You can whisper to her, "You're safe now. I'm here." This is what healing looks like. Not just joy, but grief. Not just hope, but honesty. It's letting the past breathe so it can stop screaming. In your silence, you are allowed to mourn the things you never receive, the words you never heard, the hugs you never got. The safe spaces that never existed. You are allowed to say, "I needed more, I deserved better, and I didn't get it, but I see that now, and I'm learning to give it to myself." You've been so busy proving you're fine that you forgot what it means to be real, and real is messy. Real is uncertain. Real is uncertain. Real is feeling things that don't make sense. Real is crying without knowing. Why real is forgiving yourself over and over again. Because healing is not a single moment. It's a decision you make every day. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll want to disappear. Some days you'll ache for the people who hurt you, and that doesn't make you weak. That makes you humane. You're learning to trust yourself again, to listen when your body says no, to rest without guilt, to set boundaries without shame, to say "I matter" even when no one claps for its power. In the quiet decisions, in the choice to eat today, to breathe deeply, to not text them back, to delete the memory, to stay here inside your own heart. Even when it feels unfamiliar, this part of the journey is tender. It's where you unlearn everything they told you, that love has to hurt, that your value is in your usefulness, that you're too emotional, too intense, too complicated. No. You are deep, you are away, you are awake, and they couldn't hold that, but that was never your fault. It was their limitation, not your unworthiness. So tonight as you lay down, don't try to erase anything. Let the ache be there. Let the sorrow sit beside you, and remind yourself this too is healing. This too is part of the return to yourself. To your body, to your voice, to your dreams. You lost so much trying to survive. But now you are remembering on. As you remember, you reclaim. Some wounds don't bleed, they echo. They live in the way your voice falters when you speak your truth. They live in how quickly you apologize. Even when you've done nothing wrong, they live in the way you flinch at kindness, as if you've learned that love always costs something, but it doesn't have to. Not anymore. You grew up learning how to keep peace by abandoning yourself. You became fluent in hiding your pain, mastered the art of smiling when your heart was screaming. You thought strength meant not needing anyone, so you built walls high, thick, unbreakable. But the truth is, you were never meant to survive alone. You were meant to be held, to be heard, to be loved in all your forms, even the broken ones. Especially the broken ones. They told you to move on, to forget, but healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering differently. It's being able to revisit that moment and not fall apart. It's saying, "Yes, this happened, and still I choose peace." There is no shame in what you didn't. No, you were young, you were scared, you were doing your best with what little you had. And now you're learning a new way. There was a time you thought love meant proving your worth. So you gave and gave until there was nothing left of you. They called you selfless, but you were just desperate to be enough, to be chosen, to be seen, even if it cost you yourself. You forgot what your voice sounded like, what you needed, what made you feel alive. And now, piece by piece, you're remembering the way you breathe when no one's watching, the way you move when you feel safe, the way your soul softens when it's not being judged. This is who you are beneath the armor, and you are enough even when you do nothing, even when you say no, even when your tastes side. Even when you're not who they want you to be, there is a part of you that still waits for their approval, still hopes they'll apologize, still believes if you were better, they would have stayed. But love that asks you to be less is not love. Affection that comes with conditions is not safety. You are not hard to love. They were just not ready to hold what was real. Every time you silenced yourself to keep someone else, you abandoned your own heart. But that ends now tonight. You choose yourself not with loud rebellion, but with quiet return. You come back to your own arms, to the softness you buried, to the dreams you paused. To the girl who still waits beneath the rubble, she is not weak, she is not broken, she is the bravest part of you, because even after everything, she's still here, still hoping, still trying, still loving. The grief you carry isn't just about what happened, it's about who you had to become to survive it. The way you stopped trusting, the way you hardened, the way you lost yourself. Trying to keep others close, but it's not too late. You are not too far gone. You are not too damaged. You are not unworthy of a gentle life. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, it gives it a new place. It lets it be part of your story without letting it control the ending. You can say, yes, I stayed too long. I ignored the signs. I wanted love so badly, I let it hurt me. But I know better now, and I will not shame myself for what I didn't know. You are not foolish for loving, even if it wasn't returned, even if it wasn't safe, even if it ended in silence. You were honest, you were open, you were real, and that is something to be proud of. You don't have to pretend it didn't hurt. You don't have to dress your wounds in positivity. You can grieve honestly. You can whisper, that broke me, and still I'm healing. There is magic in the quiet, in the slow, in the soft. There is redemption in every breath. You choose not to give up every step forward, even when it's shaky, even when you're scared. Especially then, you are not starting over. You are starting again from experience, from wisdom, from truth. You are not who you were. You are becoming, and becoming is never neat. It's messy, it's painful, it's full of detours, but it's yours, and that's what makes it beautiful. There is nothing wrong with you for needing time, for needing space, for needing to cry about something that happened years ago. Healing has no deadline. Your softness has no expiration. You are allowed to feel so tonight. Give yourself the permission you've been waiting for, to rest, to stop performing, to exist without needing to earn your breath. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Here now, alive, still healing, still learning, still worthy. There are memories you avoid because they burn, but you must know avoiding them doesn't make them disappear. They wait in the corners of your mind, in the silence after midnight, in the ache behind your laughter. They are not your enemies, they are simply misunderstood. You were never taught how to face pain gently, only how to survive it, how to bury it, how to wear strength like armor. Even when it was crushing you from the inside, you didn't fail. You adapted, but you don't need armor here, not now, not in this space tonight. We soften, we open the doors you kept locked, and we look without shame, without fear. Because what lives behind those doors is not weakness. It's the version of you that held the line, that got you here, that paid the price so you could heal someday, and now someday has come. You don't have to relive it. Just witness it, just hold it like a gentle truth. You were trying. You were aching, you were doing the best you could with no map, and that is enough. There is nothing weak about your tears. They speak of things too big for words. They carry stories that deserve to be honored, not silenced. You blamed yourself for things that were never yours. You carried guilt that belonged to others. And still, you wondered, what's wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? But the truth is, you were never supposed to shrink to be loved. You are not the mistakes they made. You are not the apology they never gave you, are not the silence that followed the goodbye. You are still here, and that means something. It means hope wasn't lost. It means you kept a light on inside you. Even when the world around you went dark, you don't have to earn your right to peace. You don't have to perform your Worth, you are allowed to rest, to exhale, to say, I didn't know, but I forgive myself. Sometimes healing sounds like I was wrong. But I am learning. Sometimes it sounds like they hurt me. But I am free now, and sometimes it sounds like nothing. Just a quiet breath, just a soft heart beating again. You have been brave in ways no one saw. You have stood back up when no one noticed. You have stitched yourself back together in silence, in shadows, and now let the light touch those places. Let it warm the parts of you that forgot what safety feels like. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is remembering with less pain. It is letting the story change shape so it doesn't hurt the same way it used to. It is telling your younger self, you didn't deserve that, but you made it, and I love you for it. There are no wrong turns in healing. Only steps, some forward, some backward, some sideways. But every one of them matters. Every stumble taught you something, every tear softened something. Hard inside you, you can stop pretending it didn't hurt. You can admit it broke you. And you can still believe in your own wholeness. That is the paradox of healing. You were shattered and still complete. You were betrayed and still trustworthy. You were abandoned and still worthy of choosing. There is a version of you waiting to come home. The one who dreamed, the one who laughed freely, the one who felt without fear. You don't have to be perfect to return to her. You just have to be willing. Tonight, we don't push, we don't force, we just let the remembering happen gently, softly, one breath at a time. There is beauty in your brokenness. There is wisdom in your wounds. There is strength in your softness. You are allowed to hold it all. You are allowed to change, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for your growth, not for your peace, not for your boundaries. This life is yours now, and you get to decide what stays. Let this be the night you release the weight, the shame, the question, what if I had known, because you didn't, and that is not a crime. You can't rewrite the beginning, but you are the author of this chapter, and you are writing with truth now. With softness, with power that doesn't need to shout you. Don't have to keep proving you're better now. Just being is enough. Healing is enough. Choosing peace over punishment. That is enough. So rest your heart. Rest your memories. Rest your soul that has carried so much for so long. The story continues. But not with pain, as the narrator with you, your voice, your knowing, your love. There is no ceremony, no trumpet, no sky that splits in half when you heal. It is quieter than you thought. More gentle, more ordinary. It feels like a breath you didn't realize you were holding. Being released, it happens in small ways, in the way your shoulders finally drop, in the way you let yourself laugh again, in how you no longer apologize for your existence. Happens when you pass by the mirror and don't wince when you read the old message, and no longer feel your chest tighten when you remember the pain, but it no longer owns you. Healing doesn't ask you to forget it, asks you to soften, to let time melt the edges, to allow yourself to change, because you are not who you were back then. And that is not betrayal, that is growth. You owe no loyalty to the version of yourself who survived, but you do owe her your gratitude, because she carried you. She did the best she could with what little she had, and now you can do more because of her. So thank her, then let her rest. You have made peace with the shadows. You have sat in the dark long enough to learn its language. You no longer fear it. You've walked through it. And now you carry your own light. The things they did, the words they said, the way they disappeared, it all mattered. It all hurt, but it does not define you. Your story was never meant to end there. Those chapters are real, but they are not the whole book. You are more than the moment it all fell apart. More than the breakdown, more than the silence that followed you. Are the rebuilding, the rewriting, the returning. You are the forgiveness you never received. You are the love you were denied. You are the home you kept searching for, and now you have found it inside yourself. Is not selfish to choose yourself. It is not wrong to say, I deserve peace. It is not weakness to cry, to grieve, to begin again. You are not too much. You were not too sensitive. You were not imagining things. They really did hurt you. They really did leave. They really did fail to see your worth, and you survived anyway. But now survival is no longer enough. Now you get to live. Now you get to you are not waiting for closure anymore. You are becoming it. You are the ending and the beginning. You are the truth that was buried now, unearthed. Forgive. The version of you who didn't know how to say, know how to leave, how to speak up, she was doing her best. Forgive the version of you who stayed too long, who loved too hard, who hoped too much. She was trying to heal through love, and now you know better. Now you know different. Now you do not need to lose yourself to be loved. So take this moment, this silence, this softness, and declare, I am worthy. Even if they never said it, even if they never showed it, even if they never came back, you are worthy because you exist, because you are here, because your heart still beats despite everything, and that is enough. Let go of the need to explain it all. To make it make sense, some things will never be clear, but healing is not clarity. It is freedom. You are allowed to move forward even without all the answers, even without their apology, even without understanding why. You are allowed to smile again, to dream again, to open again, slowly, tenderly. At your own pace. You don't owe anyone the old version of yourself. She has earned her rest. You are not her anymore. You are someone softer and stronger and wiser. You are becoming whole, and wholeness is not perfection. It is presence. It is being here now with all that you are still scars, but they don't define you. There are still echoes, but they don't control you. There is still pain, but there is peace. Now, and peace was always the destination, even if you took the long road. So forgive the time it took. Forgive the detours, the delays, the relapses. The nights you thought you were done but found yourself weeping again. It was never failure. It was always becoming. You made it. You're still making it. One breath at a time, one soft word at a time, one small act of kindness toward yourself at a time. And tonight, let this be the beginning, not of forgetting, but of remembering without shame. Let this be the night you say, I forgive myself for what I didn't know, for what I did while hurting, for who I had to be just to survive. Let this be the night you finally come home to yourself, to peace, to love.